الحمد لله على ما أنعم، وله الشكر على ما ألهم، والثناء بما قدم، من عموم نعم ابتدأها، وسبور آلاء أزداها، وتمام منن أولاها، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد واللعن الدائم على أعدائهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. السلام عليك يا سيدي ومولاي يا أبا عبد الله الحسين. السلام عليك وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك وأناخت برحلك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. السلام عليكم brothers and sisters. As Brother Haidar introduced, yesterday was the title of the subject, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, freedom and dignity. As we discussed yesterday, the majalis during the month of Muharram, they have two parts. One part is the educational, the informative part. The other part is the emotional and the feeling part. Both of them, as I said yesterday, both of them together what made this event, the event of Karbala, alive, and inshallah it will still alive until the day of judgment, until the reappearance of our Imam. May Allah hasten his reappearance. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. As you know, my majlis is not traditional, typical majlis, because I believe we must make the educational, the informative part is our priority. Yes, don't take me wrong. I'm really connected with very strong bond to the event of Karbala, connected with my emotion. But the message is what all that sacrifice about. However, today, inshallah, I would like to discuss with you another topic. Every Ashura, every year, when Ashura is approaching, I feel shocked, sad, and angry. How in the world such crime happened in broad daylight? How that could happen? A small caravan, men, women, and children, led by the family of the Prophet, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, surrounded with thousands of army, the army of the Muslims. It didn't stop there. They start threatening this caravan, thousands of Muslims, the official army of the state of Muslims. The government of the state at that time, it didn't stop there. They start fighting. It didn't stop there. They killed the men one by one. It did not stop there. Until they beheaded the bodies of the men, including Imam Hussein alayhi salam. The only survivor among the men, Imam Sajjad, because he was severely ill. It did not stop there. This is the family of the Prophet. Just 50 years after the Prophet. They took the heads, connect them to the top of spears, and it did not stop there. They took the women of the Prophet as a captive. It did not stop there. Every year, these questions comes to my mind. Instead of hiding such a vicious crime, they went with the caravan, including the women of the Prophet, including Zainab alayhi salam, was raised in the lap of the Prophet from one city to another. They were proud. It did not stop there. They went to Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad, the governor of Kufa. He approved the crime. It did not stop there. They took the caravan from Kufa to Sham, long distance, city after city, showing all Muslims witnessed this crime. It did not stop there until they reached Damascus. Yazid, the head of the state, he approved this crime. I don't know. Every year I become shocked, sad, angry how this could happen just 50 years after the Prophet. I start studying the event of Karbala in different ways. I reached to the concept that I have to study Karbala as a part of my belief. Okay, what happened? How this crime could happen? And the whole Muslims witness that crime. I say, let me study it as a part of the belief. Before I discuss what led to the massacre of Karbala, we have to distinguish. As followers of Ahlul Bayt, we believe in Imamah, the divine leadership. We believe the Imam exercises a delegated authority on behalf of God. This is hypothetical example. If our Imam right now come to us and say, leave everything and follow me. If we question him, just question why our Imam you want us, we put ourselves in a position of disobedience to Allah. Just question our Imam. So this is our belief. I don't want to discuss the issue from the perspective of the Ahlul Bayt belief. I want to discuss the issue because Imam Hussein alayhi salam at that time, the greatest example, his followers, they were watching his lips. Whatever his command, they follow without question. No one questioned Imam Hussein alayhi salam. That's exactly how the followers of Imam must do. So we keep the faith, the belief of the followers of Ahlul Bayt aside. I want to discuss today the belief of the rest of the Muslims, the non-Shia Muslims. From this perspective, I want to discuss this issue. What led to this crime? I said just 50 years after the Prophet. What is in the belief of the non-Shia Muslims? Let's see, discuss the issue step by step. Because I believe there is a preparation before Karbala was done to make Karbala possible, the tragedy in Karbala possible, the day of Ashura possible. Something was established to make Ashura is part of the implication. Let's see what happened before Karbala to lead to this massacre, to this greatest crime in human history against the most noble family Allah has ever created. How this could happen? It was done by Muslims. Let's go. That's why I went step by step. Let me go with you step by step. Let's go one step to the back to understand how this could happen. First, let's start with the event itself, Karbala. In the day of Karbala, in the day of Ashura, Imam Hussein alayhi salam was the Imam for the Ahlul Bayt fathers. But for the non-Shia, he was the grandson of the Prophet. The Prophet honored Imam Hussein alayhi salam in many different ways. Let me take just one narration, one authentic narration to the non-Shia Muslims. Just one narration, just one, because I want to move fast. I'm not going to discuss today the honors of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Just one narration, authentic narration. All Muslims, they know about this narration right now. All Muslims, they believe this narration is authentic. For sure. If we know right now, after 1400 years, it means this narration was authentic. All Muslims, all those who surrounded Imam Hussein alayhi salam, they believe in this narration. In this narration is narrated in multiple books. One of them, Al-Mustadrak for Al-Hakim. And Al-Dhahabi confirmed the authenticity of this narration. This narration is the Prophet said, Hussein minni wa ana min Hussein, ahabba Allah man ahabba Hussein. Hussein is from me and I'm for Hussein. May Allah love whoever loves Hussein. Just this narration, not the other honors. How in the world you are going, if you consider yourself Muslim, going to fight against someone? The Prophet said, he is from me and from him. How in the world? Something has to be established before this implication. Let's go one step before Imam Hussein, before Karbala. Before Imam Hussein alayhi salam, let's go during the time when Imam Hassan alayhi salam was the head of the state. Let's see what happened there to make this tragedy take place. Imam Hassan alayhi salam spent 6 months as the head of the state. In these 6 months, he kept fighting against none but Muslims. They kept fighting against him. Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein alayhi salam, the Prophet honored them in many different authentic narrations for the non-Shia. As I say, I'm not discussing the issue as Shia, because for us, as I say, Imam exercises a delegated authority on behalf of Allah. If we just question our Imam, we put ourselves as a misguidance. So let's go with one narration, only one narration. One narration, the Prophet said, Hassan and Hussein, this one well-known narration. Hassan and Hussein are the master of the youth of the paradise. Okay, when they kept fighting against Imam Hassan 6 months, what they wanted to achieve, to kill Imam Hassan alayhi salam, what type of Muslims? You fight against someone, you know, he is not just in paradise, he is one of the masters of the youth of the paradise. What you want to achieve? To kill this one? To make him martyred? Where you are going to? 6 months, all Muslims fighting against someone. They know, Muslims know, he is one of the masters of the youth of the paradise. How this could happen? It means something happened before that. Let's go one step further. Now, during the time of Imam Ali alayhi salam, Imam Ali alayhi salam, he became the head of the state. Of course, our imams, they are imam, whether they take over the head of the state or they are not, just like the Prophet. The Prophet was a prophet. First 13 years in Mecca, and he was a prophet. After that, the 10 years in Medina, he was a prophet, even when he was not in control of the political system. So our imams, they are imam. But let's discuss these 4.5 years, Imam Ali alayhi salam. 4.5 years, Imam Ali alayhi salam spent them fighting against Muslims. Imam Ali spent 4.5 years. Imam Ali alayhi salam, no one can study all of his arms. It's impossible. It's impossible. Let me give just one authentic narration. We know it is authentic narration right now. For sure, Muslims, they knew about this specific narration because just few years after the Prophet, if we know, and all of the non-Shia Muslims, they consider this narration as authentic narration. This narration is called Khasif al-Na'al. Khasif al-Na'al, let me give you the story, the summary of the story. Group of companions, they were with the Prophet. The Prophet, his Na'al, you know, it's a slipper, sandal, got damaged. Imam Ali alayhi salam, he stayed to fix his Na'al, his sandal, his slipper. And the Prophet moved with the other companions. Then the Prophet said to the companions, one of you will fight to protect the interpretation of Quran as I fought to protect the revelation of Quran. All of them, they said, am I? He said, no, the one who is repairing the sandal, the slipper, referring to Imam Ali alayhi salam. Just let's discuss this one narration. Imam Ali alayhi salam, as I said, I spent my life studying Imam Ali alayhi salam. The more I study his personality, the more I feel how small I am, drop in the ocean. So no one can cover the honors of Imam Ali alayhi salam. But just one narration, this narration. Okay, he spent 4.5 years fighting against whom? Against Muslims. Just this one. You are fighting against someone. His fighting is to protect the interpretation. It means you are fighting against the interpretation of Quran. It means fighting against Quran. It means fighting against Allah. Does it need someone smart to reach to this conclusion? It's impossible. And people, Muslims, they knew about this one narration, as I say. Spent 4.5 years. Is that possible? It means something took place before that to reach this degree of the disobedience to the Prophet and to Allah. Let's go one step back. Now, the time when the Prophet passed away, entered the time Imam Ali alayhi salam took over. Muslims did choose 3 different rulers before Imam Ali. How that could happen? How that could happen? I don't want to discuss today when the announcement of Imamah in Hadith al-Ghadir. Keep Hadith al-Ghadir aside. Let me give you another narration. Well-known narration. It is narrated in Sahih al-Bukhari, by the way. So we know now, non-Shia Muslims know right now this is authentic narration. It means it's impossible for the Muslim, they did not hear about this specific narration. As I said, I'm discussing right now the 3 different rulers. How Muslims did choose these 3 different rulers before Imam Ali alayhi salam. This is, it calls Hadith al-Manzil. The Prophet said, referring to Imam Ali alayhi salam, your position to me, as the position Harun had to Musa, your position in relation to me as the position Harun had in relation to Musa. This narration is very simple, but easy. It means the relation between Imam Ali alayhi salam and the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi as the relationship between Musa and Harun. Multiple verses in Quran, Allah explain for us what is this relation between Musa and Harun. Give you just two examples from Quran. One of them, Musa said or asked Allah, he said, وَاجْعَلْ لِي وَزِيرًا مِنْ أَهْلِي هَارُونَ أَخِي. Prophet Musa asked Allah, appoint to me a minister, second in command, from my family, Harun, my brother. It means Imam Ali alayhi salam was appointed by Allah as a second in command during the life of the Prophet and as a minister for the Prophet. It means he is second in command during the life of the Prophet. In another verse, وَقَالَ مُوسَى لِأَخِيهِ هَارُونَ اخْلُفْنِي فِي قَوْمِي. Musa said to his brother Harun, be my successor. It means Imam Ali alayhi salam is the minister, second in command, when he is with the Prophet, appointed by whom? By Allah. In the absence of the Prophet, it means his successor is Imam Ali alayhi salam. How in the world that Muslims did choose three different people to rule Muslim world just with this narration? As I say, no one can cover the honors of Imam Ali alayhi salam. Countless narrations from the Prophet refer to Imam Ali alayhi salam as a second in command, and he is the successor. But just this narration, how Muslims did that. Now we reach to my point. What led to the event of Karbala? As you see, step by step, there is a clear violation by Muslims, the majority of Muslims. To whom? To the Sunnah of the Prophet. By the way, Allah said, مَنْ يُطِعِ الرَّسُولَ فَقَدْ أَطَاعَ اللَّهَ. Whoever obeys the messenger will indeed obey Allah. So there is no separate between Quran and Sunnah, and many other verses referring to the same meaning. وما كان لمؤمن ولا مؤمنة إذا قضى الله ورسوله أمرا أن يكون لهم الخيارة من أمرهم ومن يعص الله ورسوله فقد ضل ضلالا مبينا. To all believers, male and female, when Allah and His Messenger give their commands, they have no another option but to obey. And whoever disobeys Allah and His Messenger will be indeed misguided. So there is no difference between Quran and Sunnah. وَمَا يَنْطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ. The Prophet doesn't speak out of his desire. He speaks only by revelation. This is Quran, and I can sit down here and keep talking about this subject hours. But that's enough. We know right now. Now we come to the source of the problem. What led to the massacre of Karbala? We came from the massacre of Karbala until right now we reach the time of the Prophet. What happened during the life of the Prophet? Because we want to dig deep to find the root cause of the problem. What led to the massacre of Karbala? During the life of the Prophet, always the Prophet gave prophecies to all Muslims. One of them, he said, soon I will die. This is the 10th year of Hijrah. He said, soon I will die. The evil, they start watching. Okay, the Prophet is about to die. Now the evil, of course, the Prophet knows. He told what's going to take place after him. He told Imam Ali alayhi salam, told all Muslims. But this is the nature, human nature. So they knew. Then in his deathbed, the Prophet was laying down. Group of companions, his companions. They were with him. This is Thursday. So he told this group, bring me something I want to write down for you, a statement, you will never go astray after me. Well-known hadith. Bukhari mentioned this hadith in multiple places. This group were led by Umar ibn al-Khattab. Umar said, we don't need your book. We don't need your statement. We don't need your writing. The book of Allah is enough for us. Now, let's think a little bit deeply about this statement. Hasbuna kitabullah. Well-known statement. It's enough for us, the book of Allah. Here, they know the Prophet is about to die. They attack the concept of prophethood. Muslim accepted. The attack was to the prophethood. But if you see, they played with it. It's enough for us, the book of Allah. It means we believe in Allah. We believe in the book of Allah. As I say, مَن يَطِعِ الرَّسُولَ فَقَدْ أَطَاعَ اللَّهَ. مَا أَتَاكُمُ الرَّسُولُ فَخُذُوهُ. Whatever the Prophet gives you, you have to take it. So, this is the first attack to the prophethood. Because, did you see, always I refer to the saying, to the hadith of the Prophet, but nobody followed. Imam Hussein alayhi salam was attacked by the violation of the hadith of the Prophet. Imam Hassan, Imam Ali alayhi salam, all of them, they were attacked. Their rights were violated by attack, by just ignoring the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Do you see? It means the origin is there. Hasbuna kitabullah. So it was clear attack to the concept of prophethood. Is that enough? No, it is not enough. After the death of the Prophet, now the plan is getting serious. The concept of prophethood was attacked, clearly witnessed by all Muslims. Hasbuna kitabullah. We don't need the prophethood. We don't need the sunnah. After what happened in Saqifat Bani Sa'ida, then they appointed Abu Bakr as the head of the state, as the ruler. By saying Khalifa, this is a huge mistake. Khalifa means successor. Successor to whom? I don't know. Successor appointed by whom? Anyways, now it is getting very serious. They attack the prophethood, the concept of the prophethood. Is that enough? No, it is not enough. They have to attack physically the Prophet. How to attack physically the Prophet? The Prophet is dead, he is buried. But without attacking physically the Prophet, they cannot violate all of what I had going through. How to attack the Prophet physically? Physically, then everything will be permissible. I'm going to give you this short explanation to what happened after Saqifat Bani Sa'id. This, I'm going to give you a summary for the whole thing, but it's common among these books. The book of Al-Aqd al-Farid, Ibn Abd Rabbah, by Ibn Abd Rabbah. This is well known for the non-Shia Muslims. Al-Imam al-Siyasa, Ibn Qutayba al-Daynuri, well known for the scholars of the non-Shia. Al-Tabari, well known. These three books for the Sunni references. And Ilal al-Shara'i, Shaykh al-Saduq, this one for the Shia. It's common. What I'm going to say, it is common in all of these four books. The story is, after they appointed Abu Bakr sent Umar ibn al-Khattab. He said, go attack the house of Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam. Here we are going to attack the Prophet physically. Each and every Muslim, they know. The Prophet said, Fatima bid'atun minni. Fatima is part of me. It is mentioned in Sahih al-Bukhari. Fatima ruhi allati bayna janbay. Fatima is my soul in between my two sides. What I'm going to mention, as I say, it's common in the references of the Sunni and Shia. Umar went with a group of men, carrying with him torture, fire. He came to the house of Fatima al-Zahra alayha salam. They said, Ibn al-Khattab, Fatima is here in the house. He said, so what? I don't care. I'm going to attack this house. By Allah. When I say, see that you Mawlati, I feel I'm scared. It means I put myself as a hair servant. What type of qualities the person has to have to be qualified as a servant to a lady? Allah is pleased when she is pleased, and Allah is angry when she is angry. By Allah, I don't have these qualities. I will be honored if she accepts me as a servant to her servant. And this person, they said Fatima al-Zahra is there, and he said, so what? It did not stop there. Do you see? It did not stop there. He went to the house of Fatima. Fatima al-Zahra herself, part of the Prophet. The Prophet's soul, the most important part of the Prophet, the most sacred part of the Prophet. She said, are you going to attack my house? He said, yes. And he attacked the house. Do you see what led to Karbala? When they attacked the most sacred place, the most sacred part of the Prophet, that's what led to Karbala. The implication of the attacking the house of Fatima al-Zahra herself, that's what led to the tragedy of Karbala. The tragedy of Karbala, it took place after series of events. But the tragedy of Karbala was the peak of them. That what led to the tragedy of Karbala. When Fatima al-Zahra, the soul of the Prophet, was attacked by those most evil people. That's exactly what happened in the day of Karbala. What type of nation is this one? They attack their Prophet in his soul. ألا لعنة الله على الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. Please today, يا فاطمة يا حسين, يا فاطمة يا حسين,